Okay, everybody, this is Uhfgood, and I am building a 2D point-and-click adventure in Blender 3D and Armory. And I wanted to take a little time. Well, actually, first I want to. I just came up with some kind of funny ideas for my game, and let's see, story. It'd probably be up in here somewhere. Let's see, synopsis. Main story, goal, climax, opening scene. We'll actually just put that in right here. So I was just thinking that the dwarves will refer to the patriarchs, which are the original 7 dwarves in the Grimm's fairy tale. I think it's it might not be Grimm's. I think it's Grimm's. I think Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or Snow White, and Snow White and Rose Red, or whatever it was. I think that was a Grimm's fairy tale. In fact, let's look that up here, since we can. Not Wiki books. This is the power of Wikipedia here. They may be biased in certain ways, but there's certain things that they, there's certain information that you can get that's pretty true. So let's go to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the 37 film from Walt Disney, and actually halfway is going to mention to John somewhere, I don't know where, because I just thought of this, that Walt Disney actually got close with the actual dwarves' names in Snow White, and then there'll be a little bit something about. I thought it would just be kind of funny to have a part where John asks him, "Well, aren't you a dwarf?" because he's short, and then where he kind of gets a little bit mad and says, "No, we like to be called little people," and and then he'll explain, while it's true that dwarves are generally shorter than most people, that they usually come in all kinds of sizes. In fact, we'll note that with Roland. Of course, Roland is half giant, half dwarf, so that's a little different. And the gnomes are actually much shorter. They're like closer to garden gnome size almost, shorter than that dwarves actually are. But I just thought it'd be kind of a little funny joke, And then halfway we'll kind of mention, well, don't you have, isn't your mythology rife with the tales of like giants? They used to play that one game where they put a ball through a hoop, and then maybe John will mention the that Aztec game where they have the hoop on the side, and I don't even know the name to that. I'll have to actually look it up, but the and then he'll go, no. I mean the ones where they put the hoop is horizontal and there's a little bit of a net on it, and then they put the ball through that thing. What do you call that? Basketball? Aren't those giants? As if the giants in our history. Well, I believe there was probably real giants, so I could say history, but also in mythology and fiction. But say like the giants, the actual giants of the past versus like basketball players who were really tall, and so that will kind of be a joke. But anyways, based on German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. Let's see something here. Snow White. Grimm German tale. The Brothers Grimm published in 1812 their collection of Grimm's fairy tales titled Schneewittchen. Schneewittchen. Snow White, huh? Numbered as 1253, Low German, interesting. It doesn't really matter, but fairy tale features such elements as magic mirror, poison apple, evil queen, and the seven dwarfs. History. Group of seven dwarfs, blah blah. Actually, their history. So you can probably pretty much do everything, but the idea here is that it is Grimm's, but the idea here is that the dwarf patriarchs, they're the seven patriarchs of the dwarves, are really the seven dwarves from the Grimm's fairy tale. So actually, I wanted to put that in there. So I'm going to type this up real quick. Halfway mentions the dwarves and how they're descended from the seven patriarchs. Which are the dwarves from the Grimm's fairy tale. John will mention Halfway's height because he's pretty short. Halfway gets a little I wouldn't say he gets angry. He doesn't get angry. Maybe irritated, annoyed, a little annoyed, stating that they prefer to be called little people. Now, of course, there is a thing, and that is short people. Like you could say midgets and dwarfs. I always thought in the past. Now, to little people, quote unquote little people, this is what they call themselves. This isn't meant at all as a slight or a put down or anything like that. So it's not like that. So maybe after thinking about that, maybe I won't put that into the actual game itself. So I guess I'd have to actually hear from some little people that or those that prefer to be called little people, whether or not they want that in there, because otherwise maybe I shouldn't do that. But at the same time, you have midgets and you have dwarves, and what I understood, I thought dwarf was kind of a technical term, meaning somebody that was dwarfed. In other words, there are some little people that they have their heads and their hands, they're full size, like full regular person size, but because of some problem, they get dwarfed. Their bodies don't grow fully. It's like Michael Dunn, who played Wild Wild West enemy. I can't think of his name. Loveless, who played Loveless, and if you watch his episodes and you look at his face and you look at his hands, they're actually full size regular hands. In other words, he was supposed to be a regular height person, and also even though he claims himself as little people, in fact I guess he made this company that actually gets work for them, which is cool. Warwick Davis, who played Willow, well, he won't notice Willow. He played Wicket in Return of the Jedi and Willow, and also played Leprechaun in those series of horror movies or whatever. Anyways, if you look at him, his hands compared to other little people are full sized regular person hands. I don't know how you say it without sounding like you're offending somebody or whatever. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but if I do, I do, and I I'm not going I'm not gonna get all bothered by the fact that somebody's offended, because I'm not particularly trying to offend somebody. Anyways, um, so I always thought midgets were the ones where their full body, including their hands and their faces and everything, are small. They're more miniature. You can tell some of them, um, and it might not be, two different things. They might literally be it might be literally the same condition. So I don't know what the conditions are that causes people to be that short, but you can kind of tell, because like the hands will be smaller and squatter, I guess you call it, and versus somebody that's got hands the size of a normal sized person or whatever. So now after talking about all that, anyways, they what I heard is they like to be called little people, which is fine. So, but the joke here is that is let's see, mention halfway's height because he's pretty short. Let's say asking if he's also a dwarf, and then halfway gets a little annoyed and stating they prefer to be called little people. And that they call, and that he's clearly not a dwarf. And then he asks John about their giants of old, and if they didn't play some game where they put a ball through a hoop. John mentions the old Aztec, it could be Incan game, I don't know, Aztec or Incan or Mayan game with a hoop on the side and two teams trying to put a ball through it. Then halfway says he's talking about that one with the hoop on both ends with a talking about that one with the hoop on both ends with a net hanging from it. Oh, you mean basketball? And then he'll correct him and say, actually, they're not really giants, just really tall. Okay, so I guess that'll at least help me remember what I was thinking. I might not say the whole little people thing because somebody might get mad. You know, I'm not trying to do that. Anyways, that's it for this little update. I will give you another update here in the next day, or if it's Saturday that you're watching this, then on Monday the next. So in 1 or 2 days I will provide another update. So I will see you then.